So chapter 3, communication challenges in a communication challenges in a global diverse marketplace. Intercultural communication is the process of sending Intercultural communication is the process of sending and receiving message between people whose cultural background could lead them to interpret verbal and non-verbal signs differently. Every attempt to send and receive message is influenced by culture. Hence, in order to communicate successfully, you need a basic understanding of the cultural differences you may encounter and how you should handle them. Advantages of diverse workforce. Diversity is simply a fact of life for all companies, offers a broader spectrum of viewpoints and ideas, a better understanding of diverse fragmented markets. Third one, provides competitive advantages. Fourth, a broader pool of talent from which to recruit. A company cultural diversity affect how its business message are conceived, composed, delivered, received and interpreted. A diverse workforce means more variety in all of these. Challenges of intercultural communication. Culture influences everything about communication, including language, non-verbal signals, word meaning, time and space, issue, rules of human relationship. Your instinct is to encode a message using the assumption of your culture. However, members of your audience decode your message according to the assumptions of their culture. The greater the difference between cultures, the greater the chance for misunderstanding. What is culture? এটা পরে আগে এটা একটু আলোচনা। What is culture? Culture is a shared system of symbols, beliefs, attitude, values, expectation and behavior norms. It is collective programming of the mind which distinguishes the members of one category of people from. Cultural competency is an appropriation for cultural differences that after communication and the ability to adjust one's communication style to ensure that efforts to send and receive messages across cultural boundaries are successful. Factors impacting culture. What is the topography of the country? What is the country's history? What role does religion play in the culture? Stereotyping and ethnocentrism and xenophobia. Stereotyping is assigning a wide range of generalized attributes to an individual on the basis of membership in a particular culture or social group. Ethnocent is the tendency to judge all other group according to the standards, behaviors and customs of one's own group. An even more extreme reaction is xenophobia, a fear of strangers and foreigners. Business people who take these views are not likely to communicate successfully across cultures. Contextual differences, high context culture. People rely less on verbal communication and more on non-verbal actions and environmental setting to convey meaning. The rules of everyday life are not explicit. As individuals grow up, they learn how to recognize situation cues such as gesture and tone of voice and how to respond as expected. Building relationship is the primary goal of communication. Low context culture. People rely more on verbal communication as less on circumstances and cues to convey meaning. In such cultures, rules and expectations are usually spelled out through explicit statement such as please wait until I am finished. Such is the case is in United States, and exchanging information is the primary goal of communication. Social differences. Number 1, roles and status, gender differences, uses of manners, time, monochronic. Frankness, workplace values, roles and status, how communication happens between people of different status. As example, people in the United States show respect by addressing manager as Mr. X or Mr. Y. In Asian countries, the addresses is sir, madam or manager. Gender differences, the perception of men and women in business varies from culture to culture, and these differences can affect communication efforts. In some culture, men hold most position of authority and women are expected to play a more subservient role. Female executive who visit this culture may not be taken seriously until they successfully handle challenges to their knowledge, capabilities and passions. Use of manners. Polite is one culture may be considered rude in another. What question can be asked to each other varies from culture to culture. Time, monochronic. Time must be planned for efficient use, especially in Western countries. Polychronic time is viewed as more relaxed, especially in the Middle Eastern and some Asian countries. Frankness. Cultures around the world exhibit varying degrees of openness. Some cultures are more direct and blunt, while some are more conservative. Workplace values. Some cultures encourage spiritual and human well-being, and productive is considered second in priority. Non-verbal differences. Greeting, touching, facial expression, eye contact, space, formality. Greeting. Do people shake hands, bow or kiss lightly on one side of the face or both? Touching. Do people touch their each other on the arm or emphasize or point or slap each other on the back to show congratulation, or do they refrain from touching altogether? Facial expression. Do people shake their heads to indicate no, nod them to indicate yes? This is what happened to accustomed to in the US, but it's not universal. Eye contact. Do people make frequent eye contact or avoid it? Frequently eye contact is often taken as a sign of honesty and openness. Space. Western culture are more accustomed to have distance with each other when talking. Formality. In general, does the culture seem more or less formal than yours? Following the lead of people who grew up in the culture is not only a great way to learn, but a good way to show respect as well. The ability to communicate, studying other language. The ability to communicate in more than one language can make you a competitive job candidate and open up a wider variety of career opportunities. English is the most prevalent language in international business, but don't assume that everyone understands it or speaks it the same way. Don't assume that people from two countries who speak the same language speak it the same way. As example, punctuation, period, elevator, lift and gasoline, petrol in use English or UK English. Cite number and dates carefully. In the United States, 1205 means December 5, 2011, but in many other countries it means May 12, 2011. Avoid using culture specific slangs and jargons. When communication across different culture, misunderstanding with this word increase. Couch potato, nut job, Dutch bake. Avoid humor and references to popular culture. Jokes and references to popular entertainment usually rely on culture specific information that might be completely unknown to your audience. Translation. You may encounter business situations that require translating message. Interpreter for spoken communication, translator for written communication. Bank translation to ensure accuracy. Once a translator encodes a message into another language, a different translator retranslates the same message into the original language. This back translation is then compared with the original message to discover any errors or discrepancies. Software websites offer translation capabilities, although none of these tools can translate as well as human expert. They can often give you the overall gist of a message. Improving intercultural communication. Be aware of your own biases. Ignore the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. The problem with the golden rule is that other people don't always want to be treated the same way you want to be treated. Particularly across cultural boundaries, the best approach: treat people the way they want to be treated. Exercise tolerance or flexibility, patience and respect. Have a sense of humor. A sense of humor is a helpful asset. It allows people to move past awkward and embracing moments. When you make a mistake, simply apologize and, if appropriate, ask other person to explain the accepted way. Then move on.